Listening. 1. Pre-listening. Look at the map and the picture from Patagonia and discuss. What do you think tourists who visit Patagonia can see and do there? What animals live in Patagonia?
Background information. Patagonia is a geographical region comprising the southernmost edge of the South American peninsula. Most of it belongs to Argentina, but a portion of it lies in Chile. It includes the Andes Mountains to the west and south, and low plains and plateaus to the east. The name Patagonia derives from the word Patagon, coined by Magellan in order to describe the unusually tall indigenous population. Some of the animals found there are sheep, the cougar, the guanaco, camel-like animal similar to a llama, the zorro, Brazilian fox, and the tuco-tuco, a subterranean mouse-like animal or rodent.
Module 2B. 2. Listen to an interview with a woman who has just come back from a trekking holiday in Patagonia. Check your predictions.
I'm joined in the studio this afternoon by Jane Waters, who has just returned from a trekking holiday in South America.
Hello.
Tell us, Jane, what exactly does a trekking holiday involve?
I suppose trekking can be best described as walking for enjoyment.
And where exactly did you go?
I went to the Patagonian steppe. It's a huge, almost empty place. The only thing moving when I was there was the wind. Some people think it is a lonely place. For me, it's beautiful, and it gave me the chance to think deeply. I work as a doctor in a big city, and I am always very busy, so the peace and quiet of the trip was one of the main reasons that I decided to go to Patagonia.
I see. I think we all benefit from standing back now and again and looking at our lives and what we want to achieve in the future. But is there anything else for the visitor to do?
Oh, yes, there's lots. I went horse riding and mountain biking, as well as walking for hours through the grasslands or pampas. While I was doing that, I saw these extraordinary condors circling in the air above me. There were also sheep everywhere. Patagonia is well known for its sheep, and the shepherds out there are called gauchos.
I know that Patagonia is not a rich place. I believe that most of their money comes from cattle. Did you visit any of the ranches?
Sure, though they call them estancias. Nowadays, increasing numbers of people are coming to Patagonia, and the estancias are becoming tourist attractions. Fortunately, I made friends with Anna, a local school teacher, who invited me to her family's traditional estancia in a lovely valley, a few hundred kilometers from the town of Baliozzi.
That was very nice. What about the local food? Did you try it?
Yes, it was truly delicious. For the main meal of the day, we would have grilled lamb or asado as they call it, with a special sauce called chimichurri, green salad, fresh bread and sparkling spring water. Anna's uncle is a gaucho, and he told us about the old days when he used to be all alone on the ranch and wouldn't see another human being for days. You know, those ranches are incredibly big. He described having to walk 20 kilometers between two sheep barns on a typical day.
That sounds like a completely different lifestyle. What about your trekking? Did you explore the mountains?
I certainly did. I went to the Los Glaciares National Park. It got colder and colder as I trekked through the mountains with a small group of German tourists, but it was well worth it. Probably the best thing about the whole trip was when, all of a sudden, I saw some pink flamingos down by a sparkling lake. It was nearly sunset. It was breathtaking to be part of nature like that. We were going to go sailing on one of the lakes too, but unfortunately something went wrong and that was cancelled.
That sounds like a unique experience. What about pumas? Did you see any of those incredibly fast and athletic animals?
Well, I heard plenty of stories about pumas, but unfortunately I didn't actually see any. But in 4 or 5 years, when my children are old enough to come with me, I shall definitely return to South America, and who knows what I will see.
Thank you for sharing your experience with us. Please come back onto the program after your next trip.
4. Post-listening. Discuss. Would you like to go on a trekking holiday in Patagonia? Why? Why not? I think a trekking holiday in Patagonia sounds incredibly inspiring, but also quite challenging. I would love to experience the raw, dramatic landscapes that look like another planet. The famous Torres del Paine peaks, the enormous Perito Moreno Glacier, and the vast wind-swept plains. The idea of disconnecting completely with only a backpack and the sound of nature is very appealing. You'd learn a lot about self-reliance and resilience in that environment. The wildlife is also a huge draw. Where else could you easily see Andean condors with 3-meter wingspans or guanacos roaming wild? However, I'd have to say no unless I felt 100% prepared. The weather is notoriously unpredictable, with strong winds and 4 seasons in one day. You need proper gear, excellent fitness, and a good guide. It's not a relaxing beach holiday, it's an expedition. So in the end, my answer is maybe one day. I'd need to build up my hiking experience first on some long-distance trails in the UK, like the West Highland Way. It would be a holiday that would teach you more about the planet and yourself than any ordinary trip could. What kind of things do you enjoy doing during your holiday?
I enjoy a mix of activities on holiday, really. A bit of unwinding and a bit of getting stuck in. My ideal day might start with a leisurely breakfast at a local cafe, just watching the world go by. Then I love something that gets me exploring off the beaten track. Instead of just visiting the main tourist sites, I'd try to find a lesser-known local walk, a small independent gallery, or a village market. You often learn the most interesting history and meet the friendliest people in these quieter spots. I also make a point of trying at least one new local food or drink I've never heard of. You can learn a lot about a place through its flavors. For a bit of R&R, rest and relaxation, I'm happiest with a good book by the sea or in a cozy pub garden. Finally, I think the best part of any trip is coming home with a story, not just a souvenir. Whether it's getting caught in a sudden downpour, learning a few words of the language, or discovering a beautiful hidden spot. 2. Speculating and making a decision. Talk in pairs. Imagine that you are going to go on holiday next week. On the next page are some things that can ruin a holiday. First, talk to each other about how serious each problem is. Then, decide which two would completely spoil your holiday. You can use some of the words and expressions in the boxes. Stress, worry, disappointment, trouble, hassle, let down. In my opinion, is the worst thing that can happen because I believe is not such a serious problem. As far as I'm concerned, can be such a hassle. To my mind, would be very troublesome. Would ruin my holiday. Could cause me lots of stress and anxiety. May not completely spoil my holiday, but it would definitely worry or annoy me.
Tip: there are no right or wrong answers, but you must make sure to justify your answer. Remember, this is not a monologue, so both speakers must have equal opportunity to speak. You should listen to your partner's opinion and respond by either agreeing or disagreeing with it. Focus on the written prompts above the visuals to keep the task in mind. Don't forget that there are 2 parts to the task. One part is expressed in the instructions as first talk, and the second part as then decide. So towards the end of the task, you must reach a decision that you have negotiated with your partner. How serious is each of these problems? Which two would completely spoil your holiday?
Well, I think that sudden rain, especially if you are by the beach, can be quite a letdown. Well, you are right, but it would not completely spoil my holiday. It would just annoy me a tad.
In my opinion, the worst thing that can happen to you by the beach is definitely getting sunburn. It is so painful and it takes days to go away. Yeah, I agree. It is a hassle, but it would not completely spoil my holiday. After all, there are special creams that tackle the side effects quite fast, you know? Now, to my mind, losing your luggage would be very troublesome. Imagine being in a country with only the clothes you were wearing during the trip, especially when you travel during the winter. You would be freezing. I suppose that you are right. Losing luggage could cause me lots of stress and anxiety. Just the thought of being stuck with the same clothes for days on end stresses me out.
Well, as far as I am concerned, having my money stolen would ruin my holiday. Being penniless in some strange foreign country is not my cup of tea. I agree. Being on holiday without money would be a disaster. In my opinion, being lost could be annoying, but I guess you can always ask for directions. You're right, but it could also be a problem if you don't speak the language and can't communicate. I believe that not speaking the language of a country you visit can be a hassle. But hey, body language is universal. You can always get the basics using gestures. It is a bit stressful, but you can always get by if you are willing to mime a bit. I think that an awful hotel room would definitely annoy me, especially if I am traveling during the winter. I don't think that it would ruin my holiday, though.
I am afraid I disagree. For me, a comfortable room is necessary for a perfect holiday, so I would be really angry if I had to spend the night in a room like that one.
Well, it is a pity to forget to take your camera, because afterwards you miss all the good shots. Of course, I don't think it would spoil my holiday.
I agree with you. It is a disappointment, but you can always buy another one or just borrow one from your friends.
Vocabulary. Adverbs of manner. A. Read the extract from the interview that you heard in the listening section. What was unfortunate? Well, I heard plenty of stories about pumas, but unfortunately I didn't actually see any. Note: adverbs of manner describe or add information to the meaning of a verb, an adjective, another adverb, or a whole sentence. They are usually formed by adding ly to an adjective, as in unfortunate, unfortunately. Grammar. Used to, would, was, or were going to. A. Read the extracts from the interview that you heard in the listening section and answer the questions that follow. He told us about the old days when he used to be all alone and wouldn't see another human being for days. We were going to go sailing on one of the lakes, too, but unfortunately, something went wrong and that was canceled. Which structure refers to actions somebody intended to do in the past, but probably didn't? Which structures refer to repeated actions or situations in the past? Used to plus base form is used. I used to work. Did you used to work?
They didn't used to work. He used to sleep. Did she used to sleep? It didn't used to sleep. Used to plus base form is used to describe permanent past states. I used to be overweight when I was younger. To describe past habits. My father used to drive to work, but now he walks. To describe repeated actions in the past. We used to go out every day, but we don't anymore. Would plus base form. I would work. He would sleep. Would you work? Would she sleep? They wouldn't work. It wouldn't sleep. Would plus base form is used to describe past habits. My grandmother would always wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. To describe typical behavior in the past. Every night, Linda would sit down on the sofa and drink a hot cup of tea after dinner. Past intentions. Was, were, going to, plus base form. I was going to work. Were you going to work? They weren't going to work. He was going to sleep. Was she going to sleep? It wasn't going to sleep. Was, were, going to plus base form is used to talk about actions somebody intended to do in the past, but probably didn't. I was going to visit my cousins over the weekend, but they came to visit me instead.